Hello and welcome to In the Tunnel. This is the Brentford preview. Hi, welcome back to Justin Talks Villa. I hope you enjoyed my first preview last week of the Newcastle game. Hopefully we'll just keep getting better and better as the season progresses. It's a bit different doing it on my own, how I used to do it with Luke and the gang over up the Villa. But I am really enjoying looking into teams and trying to come up with a pretty concise package of information and opinion on each game coming up and giving you what I hope will be interesting things to take away and something to think about before the game kicks off. So we head down to London to the G-Tech Stadium for where has been a pretty decent hunting ground for us over the last few years, and I'm hoping with the issues they've got down there, the new manager, the players they've lost, and their start to the season away at Nottingham Forest at the weekend, that we can really go there and take advantage and hopefully compound the misery down in London and hopefully bring back our first 3 points of the season. So what we're going to be looking at today, we're going to quick look at Brentford's last game, which obviously was the Forest game. We're going to look at the new manager, how he compares to Thomas Frank, how he probably will look to change things, or will he not look to change things? Will he just try and keep things as they are? We'll look at the incomings and outcomings of Brentford, formations and tactics as well. We'll look at who's missing for Brentford, who might be suspended. We'll look at the head-to-head comparison between us and Brentford at the G-Tech. How we can be successful by looking at the 3 goals that Brentford conceded last weekend, and I think they are very telling about how we can utilise our assets in getting the game won, hopefully, like the way Forest did. I'm going to have a look at our formation and what team I think we should be playing at the weekend. We'll quickly look at the predicted lineups and I'll give you my score prediction. As I said, I'm really enjoying trying to bring this content to you. I want to bring it in a real concise, condensed package of around 20 minutes-ish. So you can literally listen or watch at your leisure, and hopefully it's informative and interesting. That's the idea. So let's get into it. I've got plenty of notes here, so excuse me if I look down. But we'll start with a graphic which I used in my Newcastle review. And I really like this, but I thought I'd just go through what the actual graphic means by the use that they gave. This graph illustrates the intensity of pressure during a match. So the height of each column represents a composite score derived from various attacking metrics like ball possession, shots, goals, big chances and more. So the higher the column means the more attacking metrics were involved. So if we bring in the graphic now, you can see it's pretty easy to see, isn't it, really? The green is Nottingham Forest and the purple is Brentford, and Forest dominated the game from the off. Brentford were disorganised. Forest were very fluid. They had a lot of movement, momentum. They switched play quite quickly. They were very much one touch. They exploited the gaps through the middle and they used their pace down the wings, which they used a lot last season as well. So that was very interesting to see. And I think one of the biggest things was they conceded, Brentford, with their first corner. And bear in mind that Keith Andrews was the set-piece coach down at Brentford, then he will be bitterly disappointed that was the first goal they conceded under his tenure. He called them naive after the game. They obviously, and goes without saying, they missed Mbuemo, they missed Wissa, who is still at the club but looks like he's on his way out. They missed Norgard, they missed Flecken. They've had the heart ripped out of their team, really. I'll show you all the data about those players in a minute, but, Forest were just tactically better all over the pitch. And I know that's not saying much because Forest had a very good season last year, but they have started very, very well. But we'll see over the next few weeks how Brentford's season will open up. Is it going to be that they are going to struggle like a lot of people are sort of tipping them to do because of the players they've lost? Are Forest just going to continue the momentum from last season? It's very early days, so there's not a lot of data at the moment to be judging teams on. So, I've got a very small amount of data to look at here when sort of looking at Brentford, and it's only the first game that Keith Andrews has had in charge as well. So Forest were tactically better. Their midfield controlled the game. Their fluid movement put Brentford on the back foot. with Morgan Gibbs-White and with Hudson-Odoi, Elliot Anderson, who's a really good footballer, and Chris Wood, carried on his great form from last season. And the new player, Odoi, obviously scored as well. The double pivot in behind the three behind Wood are critical for me, because they're the ones that dictated the play. They're the ones where all the good work started from for Forest, and I think we can really take a note out of Forest books and look to maybe drop Tielemans in back to the double pivot, but we'll come on to that in a minute. And the three in behind Wood, which will be the three in behind Ollie for us, are the game changers for me. We all know we were disappointed with the three in behind on Saturday, so that is where I think this game will be won, but with a change. We need control, we need aggression, front foot. We need to be getting hold of the ball and holding it much better, retaining possession much better, and our use of the ball has got to be sharp as attack as well. So they're all factors in the way that this game at the weekend. So let's just bring that back up here. We need pace and flair in behind Ollie. Right, let's have a chat about the manager. Okay, so as we all know, Keith Andrews came in and replaced Thomas Frank in the summer. He was originally the set-piece coach. So it was a bit of a surprise appointment. We all know that Brentford like to hire and promote from within. But to promote Keith Andrews from the set-piece coach is a bit unusual. But who can argue with Brentford and the way they do things over the last few years? They're obviously a really well-run football club, and I think nobody can really criticise what they are doing. And they have had a lot of outgoings as well. So he has got a massive job on his hands this summer. If we look at how Thomas Frank set up Brentford, he was quite flexible. He played a 3-5-2 or a 4-3-3 or even a 4-2-3-1, depending on what team he was playing up against. He was very pragmatic, but he was very fluid. He's compact defensive blocks and also a high press. He had a direct attacking transitions and also strong use of a target man and his wing backs. So he had a lot of different variations of how he liked to set up. His set pieces were a key strength, which ties in with Keith Andrews, and his heavy use of analytical and data-driven tactics also made a big impression on his time at Brentford. How will Keith Andrews vary from that? I don't think he will change it much. I think it'll be more an evolution rather than a revolution. He has a high emphasis, and he's mentioned this in a few interviews he's done as well, on relentless pressing. He wants intensity, he wants dynamism, and he wants front foot. He wants them to be on it from minute one. He's renowned as a set-piece specialist, as I've said, which you'll be very disappointed about the first goal that was conceded on Saturday. Brentford led the Premier League in set-piece output last season, so, is that going to carry on, or is it going to wane now he's the main man and he's not concentrating solely on set pieces this season? Who knows? He introduced fast kick-off routines to Brentford, leading to a lot of early goals for them last season. So we need to be on our guard from the kick-off on Saturday. I think one of them scored against us, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong. He's a leadership man. He is a people person, communicative. He's respected by the players, and he will probably retain the same kind of formation as Frank did, so a 3-5-2 or a 4-3-3, but probably like to see a little bit of tweak because he'd like to put his own stamp on that team now, I would imagine. So formation's similar, pressing and defensively, I think he's going to be more intense, so we might see that at the weekend. Set pieces, he's going to, definitely concentrate on them because of his background. He's going to be dynamic, but he will just build on what Thomas Frank has brought into Brentford anyway. Whereas sort of Frank was data-driven, I think Andrews is going to be more people-first and very communicative with the players, but he's very well respected. So, I do think the players will buy into it in the short term anyway. Obviously, results, if they do start to be very poor for a prolonged period of time, then there's always the issue that the players could start, losing faith with him, as we've seen quite a few times. And with it being a new manager, it could be a very telling sort of first 10 games for Keith Andrews. So we'll move on to, obviously, the summer squad changes. Now, this is a huge upheaval at Brentford, probably one of the biggest ones of the season so far for any club at in the Premier League level. So we'll try and bring in this here, this little button. I will get used to these buttons one day. This is how important the players that have left were to Brentford last season. You don't need me to tell you. Brian Mbeumo, this is the team of the season on Sofa Score. So Brian Mbeumo made the front two, and also Mark Flecken made the goalkeeper as well of the season. And when we look at this, which was top goal scorers last season in the Premier League, they had two players, the only team, I think, just quickly look at that, yeah, the only team to have two players in the top six last season. So Wissa with 19 and Mbeumo with 20. They're going to be hard to replace, aren't they, these players? 39 goals just with those two players. How on earth do you replace them? It's like, our players, our two, top scorers being picked off in the summer. It is very, very difficult to come back from that kind of loss of player. They've obviously lost Norgard, who went to Arsenal. They've Flecken, obviously, and Wissa, who's currently still there, but looks like he's on his way as well. They brought in Atara from Bournemouth for 42 million. We might see him at the weekend because he has now signed. Malambo and Kayare as well, attacking centre midfielder and a right back have come in. Both made their debuts at the weekend. So they are spending money, but it's going to be a difficult job to integrate these players so quickly, especially when they are replacing arguably their four most important players from last season. So a really difficult task ahead for Brentford. As far as the team news goes this weekend, it looks like that Janelta's still missing, Nunes, Gomez, Pinnock is out, and Wissa, unless he's left, I can't see him being involved. I think he wasn't involved at the weekend, so I would imagine that will continue. He won't be anywhere near the first team at the weekend. Obviously, we've got Conser missing because he's suspended, but I would believe that everybody else is probably fit now. Be interesting what happens with Barkley and Garcia. But we've obviously got the decision to make on the goalkeepers, but we'll come on to team selection in a minute. Right, let's get into some tactical chat and formation chat and how I think Aston Villa can be successful against Brentford. So we'll bring up this, which you have seen before, hopefully. I can work it. There we go. So we'll be looking just to the right because we've got my screen here. This is an interesting graphic which shows the last game of last season here on the left, and the first game of this season, and the difference in their starting lineups. As you can see, Norgard and Mbeumo, Wissa and Flecken all started in the last game of last season. They're all missing here, and obviously the statistics are pretty poor from the weekend. Keane Lewis Potter, as you can see, I thought was quite interesting. He started left back on the last game of last season, and he started this first game of this season on right wing. You couldn't get two different positions, could you? Rico Henry come back from a long-term injury, didn't perform that well and was taken off. Nathan Collins, the club captain now, also had a poor game. Kelleher from Liverpool's come in to replace Flecken. So they are trying to rebuild the team now, but it's going to be very, very difficult. So we're going to look now at the 3 goals that Forest scored on the weekend against Brentford. Now, the first one, as I've said a couple of times now, is from a set piece. And what I found very interesting about this is they have got, if we can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 6, 7, 8. There's one here hiding, 9, 10, all 11 outfield players in the box. Arguably, 10 of them at the 11 in the 6-yard box. Yet still, they conceded the first goal. All it was a pretty standard, decently flighted ball into the middle of the box. As you can see here, somehow, with these 3 players here, if I can circle them, these 3 players here, standing just watching the play, not switched on at all. And this is a recurring theme we'll see in all three of these goals from what I've looked at. And we've got 2-on-1 here with, I think that's Muriello, is it? Yeah, Muriello and Chris Wood there at the back on 2-on-1 here. And it's very, very simple. Chris Wood loses his man, wins the first header. And not only does he win the first header, but he's the first to react to the ball dropping literally 2 yards from him. And again, I'm telling you now, 3 players here, all just standing there, not reacting at all. And Chris Wood's the quickest, and he is a really good finish, to be fair, into the far left-hand corner. Now, if we move on to the second goal, which was a really, really well-worked goal, and this is something I'm really keen on Saturday. This is why I think we need to put our more flair players in the front four now. Nothing against Tielemans. He's a fantastic player, but I think he's more effective in the double pivot. John McGinn wasn't at his best, and I think we've now possessed more flair players with Gassan and with Rogers back in the 10 and Marlon. All making good movement, all pacey, all really going to cause issues to Brentford. And we need to really compound what happened to them at the weekend this weekend, because this is going to be clear and it's going to be in their memories, imprinted in their memories, because I'm sure he's gone over this time and time again. So essentially, they basically make a really, really, really good. I'll just do that one again. As I said, I am getting used to this. They play the ball around really nicely here on the left-hand side. And again, I've got to be honest, I think it's really poor from Brentford. Nobody at all engages. They're all standing off. They're all literally just standing there looking at the ball. Nobody particularly wanting to go across. And when the ball's played back to Morgan Gibbs-White, he literally just beautifully, let me try and do this here. He lifts the ball into a really, really good space here, which is here. With his left foot, he takes one touch and he knows there are going to be people at the back post here. So he just lifts it lovely into the back post. And when I show you the next picture, it blows your mind. Because you can see Gibbs-White here, the ball is just played in really nicely. Nice little floated ball into the back post. And what is disappointing, and what I'm sure the manager will be so disappointed with, Rico Lewis here, and Van der Berg, I think it is here. They are just the wrong side of their man here. It is poor defending from Brentford. And you've also got, I think it's Nathan Collins here, and the right back, who is the new player. Is it? No, that can't be Kadade. No, Kadade is there, isn't he? 7 to 17. So that must be, I don't know who that is, but somebody's just not switched on at all. So you can look at the line here. He's playing him on side, and all he's done is lifted it into a really, really good space here. And it's such a simply headed goal, because he's got, they're the wrong side. He should be standing this side, and he should be standing this side. And because it's such an early ball in as well, they don't get time to reassess where they are. And it's just a really nice header into the far corner again. And then when we look at this goal here, it is, again, not switched on, not thinking at all. All Van der Berg, yeah, all Van der Berg has got to do here is play a really simple ball into feet here, but instead he switches off and he just plays it far too hard into here. And I think this is Elliot Anderson, who is a really good passer of a football. But what's brilliant about this goal is the quickness of thought from 2 players. So Anderson realises he's overhit it and it's going to be coming to him. There's absolutely no midfield cover here at all in this area. In fact, if I do this is probably more telling. So there is literally nothing at all here at all. There's no cover. There's nobody there marking. Again, nobody switched on. So all it takes is one poor pass, and he's basically turned the possession over to Forest. But that doesn't tell the whole story, because it's okay having the ball played into you, but he's got probably a second from when the ball leaves his foot to when it hits him. And first time He's looking at, he's already scanning. You can see that. He's scanning forward. Right, what have I got on? What have I got on? And what makes it so easy for him to make this pass is the experience of Chris Wood here. He's also looking at where this pass has gone. And he's thinking, right, if I'm quick here, I can be on my bike and I can make a run in here. So that's all he's thinking. He's thinking, I'm going to make a run and it's up to my players to find me. And it is a wonderful pass from Elliot Anderson. First time. I mean, he has, to be fair to him, he's got an acre of space here to play the ball into, which he does with ease. So, you know, poor defending again. But then I suppose they're not thinking he's going to give the ball away in the middle of the park. So it's a brilliant pass. First time ball, straight through the middle of the defence, cuts them apart, and all he's got to do is run in on goal and calmly cut around the keeper and slot it home. So he's a fantastic, really good 3 goals, but in my opinion, all 3 of those goals could have been prevented by poor defending and mistakes by Brentford. So we'll have a quick finish off now with the teams I think that could possibly be playing at the weekend. So if I bring up the tactics board, just 2 seconds while I bring that up. So we'll just bring this in now and have a look at. So this was something I knocked up earlier. This is based on the average positions of Aston Villa on Saturday against Newcastle. So it does tell a bit of a story here. We were very, very compact here in the middle of the park. Again, if I can use my little things here, you know, you've got these players here. We're all here. These 3 here, we're pretty much tight in here. What's a little bit worrying for me, and I keep saying it time and time and time again, is Morgan Rogers. He does not want to play on the left, I don't think. I'm sure he'll do a job for the team, and I'll probably never even argue or anything with the manager, but in my opinion, he doesn't want to play off the left. You can see this by his average position. He's practically playing centrally anyway. Tielemans is doing his best to support Ollie Watkins. Mings, you know, why is he sitting so deep? Conster's quite far right. Cash is tucked inside, and Luca Dean, as we've seen many times with the left back, is hugging the touchline and trying to get forward as well. So unfortunately, it did lead us a little bit to that sort of misshaped team, and we were under pressure. They did do a job on us, in my opinion. So I think, personally, this is the changes I would make at the weekend. So let's just get them back into their starting positions now. So, the big one at the back, Bizzo or Martinez. Now, Bizzo's done nothing wrong, and there's definitely an argument to keep him in the team, and that might very well happen. But for me, personally, I think you've got to go with your tried and trusted number 1. We've now possessed a very good backup goalkeeper, and he will be playing. And if Martinez doesn't perform to the standards we expect, then nobody's going to question Bizzo coming in from now on because of the performance he put in against Newcastle on Saturday. Matty Cash did well for me at the weekend. He stays. Ezri Konsa suspended. What do we do with the back 2? Now, you've got 2 options. You either bring Bogard in, who we've seen playing that right-hand side role, he's a natural right-footed player, or what I think will happen is Pau Torres will come in and we'll just play 2 left-sided central defenders. People will probably be shouting at the screen right now, you can't play 2 left-sided central defenders. I disagree. I think you can, just in the same way as you can play 2 right-sided central defenders. I also think Luca Dean comes out and Ian Matson comes in, if I can press the right button. There, so that's what I think will happen. What's happening here? Oh, there we go. Ian Matson. And if we look at the things I've highlighted with Brentford's poor performance at the weekend, I think, you know, pace and power and athleticism and high press, that is where Matson, I think, improves us over Dean for this game. Unfortunately, I think Onana sits this one out. I think we drop Yuri Tielemans back into his preferred position. I also think John McGinn sits out this one. I think it's time to unleash our current best front four, attacking wise, that is. Not in form, but just in my opinion. And this is it. I think this is the side we should go with on Saturday. It's a pretty obvious lineup, I think, especially based on the performances at the weekend. But I think it gives us everything that Forest had at the weekend. If we look at the like for like, they started with Hudson-Odoi, Gibbs, White and Ndoye. We've got, I think just as good three there. Marlon, Rogers and Kassan. They started with, I think it's Sangari and Elliot Anderson. Again, we've got comparable players there, better probably. And then the back four, I think it's good enough to keep them at bay, with Emi Martinez in goal. If we put Brentford in now of their starting 11 from last weekend, we can see how that lines up. You got Milambo playing up front. We've got Thiago. Is it Thiago? Here. Lewis Potter started on the right and Carvalho started on the left. Sorry, Thiago up front and Milambo played in the 10. And then we got Jensen and Yarmuluk in the double pivot with Rico Henry. I mean, we might see Lewis Potter maybe returning back to left back, Vandenberg, Collins and Coyote at right back. For me, this is where we win the game here. Gassand pushing in here. Watkins keeping the two central defenders busy. Morgan Rogers is a key man for me here. We saw the space that Brentford afforded Nottingham Forest on Sunday. So we need to get him in here, but causing havoc and causing them trouble. We need to press them back. We need to be high intensity, and we need to give them so many things to think about that they haven't got time to attack us. We don't want to be sitting back. We don't want to be passive. We don't want to do what we did against Newcastle and give them an ounce of anything in this game. We need to start well, and we need to put the foot down on them, and we need to win this game. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed putting this together and having a look at the weekend's fixtures and the way they played and the goals. I hope it made sense as well. That's a bonus if it does. And let me know in the comments if I've missed anything out, if there's anything you would like to see instead of what I'm doing. Do you like the length of this episode? It's probably gone a little bit longer than I would have liked, but again, I'm just trying to get used to all these bits and bobs. Match prediction. Okay, I did say I was going to be really honest this season. I know I predicted a Newcastle win last week, but I really felt we could beat them. It was just a disappointing performance overall, but I do really think we can beat Brentford, mainly down to most of the factors I've highlighted here. Their players that they've lost, their performance at the weekend will be playing on their minds. The new manager, I know it's their first home game under him, but I think, bearing in mind everything that's happened to them this week, I think if we can start well and maybe even get that first goal, I think we could win this game, maybe even quite comfortably, but I'll be happy with a 2-0. So I'm going to just say 2-0. Let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know what the score you think is going to be. And I really, really appreciate your continued watching of my content. I've had some fantastic comments this week. And if you need to get in touch with me, use this email address. And I've really enjoyed it. And by the way, if you haven't watched it already, go and watch the Monday night phone-in. It was brilliant this week. Had some really, really good callers. So I'm going to shut up now because I don't want this to go on too long and I want you to enjoy it. So, speak to you all soon. Thank you very much for watching and up the Villa.